Hi, today we will study the section E of the chapter 4 of Baronet's logic. This section is short, but it is the payoff for the whole chapter. We stop working with sanitized examples and start working with real prose. So today we will analyze 5 real passages and we will make 5 diagnoses. Textbooks examples are built to be caught to learn the type of fallacy that the example shows, but the world is not. People in the world is trying to make an argument, trying to make their case, and you need to find the fallacy in that situation. Remember that on Wednesday we have the exam on this chapter. So by this moment you have already learned 24 types of fallacies. So we have studied examples that are engineered, that are designed to expose a specific type of flaw. So you learn that type of fallacy. There's one fallacy in each passage. The mistake that this passage is making is the point of the example, and the recognition is simple to it after you learn the technique. Now, what you learned here in the section E is to recognize the fallacies in passages that are written to persuade and not to teach a specific fallacy. The fallacies are buried inside the real prose and speech, where speakers are trying to argue and persuade and not simply to explain a type of fallacy. Um, the mistake is concealed in the writing. And um, recognition is exercised against an active resistance of the speaker or the writer that is trying to persuade. In either written or oral language, there are two ways in which good style can disarm good judgment. First, in written language, fluid prose. A writer with a brilliant style can produce a passage that feels persuasive by the sheer quality of the writing, before any evidence or argument has been offered. In oral language, commanding delivery. A great speaker can hold an audience with the sound of the voice alone, so completely that the substance of what is said goes unexamined. The danger is not that style is bad. To write or to speak in a well manner is great. It is that style shapes evidence, but it is not evidence in itself. Read again the passage of Laurence Olivier at the Academy Awards. That is in page 170 that you should have read before watching this lecture. Think about what is the audience being asked to accept and what is offered in support of it. Let's analyze the following passages of Laurence Olivier's speech. The great firmament of your nation's generosity, the prodigal, pure human kindness of it, a beautiful star in that firmament, the majestic glow of a new tomorrow, the kindly emotion that is charging my soul. So, what these passages caused in the audience is that they saw it in awe. It was the greatest Shakespearean actor of his era, and he had a great delivery. Almost nobody went back and read actually the words of the speech. The words are poetical and emotional, but they are thin in substance. Think about any of these passages, stripping out of them the music. What is left to assess? What is the substance? What is the idea that is conveying? Now let's analyze Francis Schaeffer's text, Who is for Life? Our acceptance of abortion does not end with the killing of unborn human life. It continues on to affect our attitude toward all aspects of human life. Once we accept abortion, then comes the acceptance of infanticide. And then on to euthanasia of the age. If human life can be taken before birth, there is no logical reason why human life cannot be taken after birth. Think which links in this change are supported by evidence and which are simply asserted. Think if these different phenomenons like abortion and infanticide and euthanasia, if they are actually connected, and if the author is giving you support of why they are connected, or if he is just stating this link. So the passage argues that accepting abortion changes our attitude toward all human life, and this is the structure of the chain. If you accept abortion, then you accept infanticide. But there is no support, there are no reasons why accepting abortion necessarily implies to accept infanticide. And then if you accept infanticide, that leads you to accept euthanasia of the age. But again, there is no support, there is no evidence that supports this connection between infanticide and euthanasia. As you already know, this is a slippery slope fallacy. No evidence is offered for the link from abortion to infanticide and none for the link from infanticide to euthanasia, as I just said. The change is asserted, not argued. There are no reasons given in support of the connection between these different phenomena. Separate the belief from the reasons offered for it. A conclusion you accept can still be badly argued. Let's continue discussing the slippery slope fallacy in the topic of abortion. Popline is a population research database. A stop word instructs a database to ignore a term when it appears in a search. Healthcare providers, researchers, and advocates were alarmed to learn that Popline had rendered the search term abortion a stop word. Self-censorship of a specific term in a scientific setting sets a dangerous precedent. The terms contraception, sexuality, and reproductive health are the next stop words, unless we remain vigilant and protest loudly. This is the text that you read in the textbook. Which part of this is documented fact, and which part is prediction? The authors report that a research database made one search term a stop word, instructing the database to ignore it and predict what follows. What is established is that one term is blocked, and then they predicted the following: that contraception will be next, sexuality will be next, and reproductive health will be next. But they don't give any reasons or support or evidence to prove this. As you can notice, this is a slippery slope fallacy again. The first step is documented, the predictive next steps are not documented, and there are not reasons given why this is going to happen in the future. Dash borders mark the unsupported links. The argument supplies no evidence that any of them follow. Cases 2 and 3 argue for opposite conclusions. So as you remember, case 2 is a critique of abortion, and case 3 argues in support of abortion. But they commit the identical mistake. Fallacies are not partisan. Now let's look at another case. Nobel Prize winners live longer. A news write-up of a single study comparing Nobel laureates with scientists who were nominated but did not win. You read this text in the textbook. Winning the Nobel Prize adds nearly 2 years to your lifespan, and it is not because of the cash that goes with it. The status seems to work a health-giving magic. The researchers found that since the amount of actual prize money won had no effect on longevity, therefore the sheer status of the award is the important factor in extending lifespan. Ask yourself the following when reading this extract. What will it take to show that status causes longer life, rather than merely accompanying it? So let's analyze the argument that is presented by this text. The data that they present is that the average lifespan of Nobel Prize winners is 76 years, and the average lifespan of nominated scientists that did not win it is 75.8 years. The gap of roughly 2.5 months. This is the argument as given. Winners outlive nominees. Prize money had no effect on longevity. Therefore, the status itself extends lifespan. It works, it says, it works as a health-giving magic. As you have already concluded, the fallacy that is being committed is post hoc or plain coincidence. A correlation this small from a single study cannot carry a causal conclusion. Science earns causal claims through repeated trials that eliminate rival explanations, not through one striking result. So let's analyze this reply in a Congress debate. Responding to calls for less inflamed political speech following the 2011 shooting of a member of Congress, another member of Congress said the following: "We cannot use this as a moment to try to stifle one side or the other. We cannot use this as a moment to say one side does not have a right to talk about the issues they are passionate about." So who actually advocated the position being rejected here? Try to think if the other side, if they were proposing that position that is being rejected here. So what fallacy was committed by this member of the Congress? As I'm sure that you concluded, it is a case of a straw person fallacy. The actual position that was stated, it was to reduce inflamed rhetoric. It was an invitation to reduce exaggerated rhetoric, fewer veiled threats, insults, apocalyptic exaggerations, and outright falsehood. Debate the issues on facts and merit. And I think that is an invitation that is still relevant today. The position that was attacked by this member of the Congress is that one side should be stifled, that some people have no right to talk about the issues they care about. As you can notice, those are different perspectives. The second, the position attacked, is far easier to defeat than the first, which is exactly why it was the one answered. The reply that we analyzed in the previous slide refutes a call for censorship that no one in the debate actually made. So this is the method that we learned to read an ordinary language passage. First, strip the style. Restate the passage in flat, plain language. Whatever survives is the content. Find the conclusion. What is the reader being asked to accept? If nothing, there is no argument to evaluate, because remember that one of the key elements, one of the essential elements of an argument is a conclusion. List the actual support that gives reasons for this conclusion. Separate what is asserted from what is evidence. Assume links count as neither. Set your own view aside as whether the reasoning works, not whether you agree with where it lands. Name the specific fallacy. You already learned 24 types of fallacies, so you have the knowledge to be precise about which specific fallacy was committed. Just saying that it is a bad argument, it is not a diagnosis. Identify which flaw and which flaw is being committed and point to where it happens. So let's discuss the answer to the first exercise of exercises 4E. You can speak French, Petit Valois can speak French. I must therefore conclude that nobody at the University of Minnesota can speak French. As I'm sure that you notice and correctly diagnose, this is a case of hasty generalization, a claim about, and here the explanation is very important. So a claim about an entire university resting on exactly two instances. So this defends this explanation of your diagnosis of hasty generalization matters because you're naming the sample that is being used, and it is only two people, the population that is analyzed based on that sample, a whole university, and the gap between that sample and the complete population. That gap is what constitutes the fallacy. And when you point, point out that gap, you are giving a correct and satisfactory explanation of your diagnosis. So what did we learn today? First, style is not evidence. Beautiful prose and commanding delivery can occupy the attention that belongs to the inference, but they are not reasons that support an argument. It is important that you separate your belief, your opinions, from the reasons offered for it. You can accept and agree with a conclusion and still reject the argument, the inference that reached it. Third, fallacies are not partisan. Opposed positions can commit identical mistakes, and a scientific study is not exempt either. Name the specific fallacy and show where it happens. Show why that is the specific fallacy that is being committed. The label without the explanation earns nothing, does not prove anything. I hope that you have a great day. That's all for today. Remember to complete exercises 8, 16, 24, 32, and 44 of exercises 4E. I hope that you have a great day. Submit your answers on Brightspace.